After defeat started to mount against the forces of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, they began looking for ways to end the war quickly and cripple Republic forces. And their searching brought them to one obvious target, Kamino, the birthplace of the Republic's clone army. Both sides had anticipated that a Battle of Kamino would occur at some point during the conflict, and both sides were prepared for it. The Republic had already heavily fortified the planet as the conflict carried on. These fortifications included a large fleet of Republic Navy vessels in orbit over Kamino, and a series of listening posts to listen for incoming Separatist ships. However, as the war dragged on, no attack against Kamino came until eventually, near the midpoint of the war, the Separatists put their plan into motion. Their plan began with a series of surgical strikes designed to disable or destroy several of the listening outposts, most notably the outpost on the Rishi Moon, to create a hole in the Republic's surveillance network. This would hopefully allow Separatist forces to carry out a stealthy assault on the planet. However, that wouldn't come to fruition, as Separatist schemes would be intercepted by Republic intelligence listening to Separatist communications. As a result, Republic forces were aware of the Separatist attack coming to Kamino several days before the engagement even occurred. This allowed the Republic to reinforce their forces on Kamino, bringing more clone troops to the world to bolster their defenses there. The objectives of Republic forces during this engagement were rather simple. They wanted to maintain control of Kamino and to protect the Kaminoan cloning facilities in Tipoca City. At the time, Republic forces believed that the primary Separatist objectives would be to destroy these cloning facilities, so their primary objective was to defend them. On the other hand, the Separatists had slightly different goals. Realizing that Kamino was too hardened of a target to actually destroy or take in a full-scale invasion, the Separatists planned more surgical goals for their strike. Most notably, the Separatists aimed to secure copies of the genetic template used for creating the clones. This could be used for building biological weapons in the future, and to destroy the clone barracks there, which would limit the number of young clone troopers that could progress to a fighting age. In the days prior to the assault, Separatist forces were able to smuggle several transports onto the surface of Kamino. Not nearly enough to build an invasion force, but enough to set up a small forward force under the water near Tipoca City. When the primary Separatist force arrived at the planet, it caught Republic forces off guard, not because of their timing or their presence, but the size of the Separatist fleet. It was relatively small. The Separatist fleet consisted of a single Providence-class dreadnought, which was Grievous's flagship, 3 Recusant-class light destroyers, and 11 Munificent-class star frigates, some of which had been modified to carry out a transport role. When they arrived, they found the planet defended by a relatively large Republic force, including 11 Venator-class star destroyers, one of which was Anakin's flagship, the Resolute, 2 Acclamator-class assault ships, and a pair of Architans-class light cruisers. With the arrival of the Separatist fleet, fighters were quickly launched from the surface of the planet to reinforce the fleet in orbit. As the engagement carried on, however, the Separatists began advancing not their warships, but the munificents that had been modified to carry out a transport role, which immediately began taking the brunt of Republic fire, debris raining down from these transports into Kamino's atmosphere and towards the surface of the planet. Meanwhile, the command ships in Grievous's fleet held back, sending volleys of fire towards the Republic fleet from afar. Down on the surface of the planet, the debris from the shattered Munificent-class transports fell into the waters off of Tipoca City, where they would deliver their secret payload. The components to construct a number of Trident-class assault craft, as well as the droids necessary to crew them, and an assault force of various kinds of battle droid. With Republic forces now distracted engaging Separatist forces in orbit, and many of the heavier weapons present on Kamino, things like starfighters, for example, having been deployed against the Separatist fleet in orbit, the Separatists were able to spring their trap, deploying a number of Trident-class assault craft from underneath the water to attack Tipoca City, the squid-like transports jumping up onto the facilities of Tipoca City and quickly embedding themselves into the architecture there. Luckily, Tipoca City was crawling with clone troopers, as it was their home and was additionally reinforced with the knowledge of this coming attack. So the droids deployed were quickly outnumbered. However, the surprise of the assault did allow the droids to very briefly gain an upper hand, securing several key elements in several spaces around Tipoca City. Things like hangars and loading areas were key targets for this initial assault. These large open spaces would be perfect for heavy Separatist assaults. With the initial beachhead secured, Separatist forces began to fan out. As Separatist droid forces carried out attacks against various critical features around Tipoca City, it was quickly found that most of these assault forces were pathetically small, a handful of droids, and it became clear that the Separatists did not bring enough droids with them to capture the city. It turns out these assaults were diversions, while Asajj Ventress made her way towards the genetic storage room to acquire a copy of the genetic template used for the Fett clones. At the same time, Grievous led a squadron of B-1 battle droids into the clone barracks with the intention of destroying the barracks and wiping out any young training clone troopers that they had come across during that engagement. However, General Grievous was distracted by an engagement with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Asajj Ventress was interdicted by Anakin Skywalker, leaving both of them engaged in hand-to-hand combat. Meanwhile, clone troopers carried out a series of ambush attacks within the barracks that were able to overwhelm the droid attackers, ultimately resulting in droid forces being forced back from the barracks. In fact, all across Tipoca City, droid forces were being forced to retreat, with them now being significantly outnumbered by the clone defenders. Separatist leadership would soon follow, with Obi-Wan driving Grievous from the facility and forcing him to steal a Kaminoan shuttlecraft to attempt an escape. In the process of this escape, he would swing back and pick up Asajj Ventress, allowing both of them to escape, but having failed to retrieve the copy of the clone's genetic material or destroy the clone barracks. With their assault force shattered and the remnants of Separatist forces forced into retreat, the Separatist fleet withdrew from Kamino, and the Battle of Kamino ended in a firm Republic victory, the Separatists being unable to achieve either of their major objectives, and the planet still being under the control of Republic troops, albeit a little scuffed. As a result of this engagement, Republic troop presence on Kamino nearly doubled, with a much larger defensive perimeter being constructed around the planet, and regular checks being carried out not just in orbit, but under the water. The Republic didn't want a repeat of this incident, and they understood the vulnerability of their cloning world. This attack was ultimately an act of desperation after Republic forces began beating Separatist forces in battles around the galaxy. One of the most recent battles being the Battle of Seleucami, which ended yet another Separatist offensive. If you'd like to learn more about the Battle of Seleucami, I'll leave a link in the upper right-hand corner to my video on the space battle over Seleucami. And if you have any other engagements you'd like to see covered in future episodes of Battle Analysis and added to the archive, you can let me know down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.